Born on August 6, 1963, in Van Nuys, California, Kevin's parents divorced when he was just a baby. His mother, Shelley, had to work long hours to make ends meet, leaving Kevin to spend much of his time alone. He filled his solitude with small adventures, exploring the streets of Los Angeles. Kevin was an incredibly curious child, and his fascination with technology, particularly communication devices, began to take root at a young age. By early adolescence, he had started dabbling in amateur radio, even listening to police frequencies, to make sense of the world around him. The seeds of what would later be called social engineering were perhaps sown in these childhood curiosities. At just 12 years old, Kevin came up with the brilliant idea that would lead to his first hack. While riding the city bus to and from school, he noticed that drivers punched holes in tickets to validate them. This observation sparked a plan. If he could get his hands on a ticket puncher and enough blank tickets, he could travel the city for free. To uncover the puncher's secret, he used a simple yet effective tactic. Posing as an innocent and charming kid, he asked a bus driver where he could get a puncher for a school project. Unsuspecting, the driver told him where they were sold. Kevin then used the same charm to acquire a puncher. After observing drivers for a while, he discovered that most discarded unused transfer tickets in a trash bin near the bus depot at the end of the day. With everything in place, Kevin collected blank tickets, filled them out, punched them, and gained unlimited free rides. At just 12, he had outsmarted the system and roamed Los Angeles for free for months until he was caught. But his battle with the system was only beginning. As he entered high school, Kevin's passion for pushing technological boundaries grew. He continued his amateur radio hobby while delving into the mysteries of telephone systems. For fun, he sometimes tapped into the frequency of McDonald's drive-thru systems, impersonating employees and messing with customers placing orders. He had no financial motives, just a desire to have fun. In high school, he befriended an older teen involved in phone phreaking who taught him ways to make long-distance calls for free. Kevin could now make interstate calls without cost, but that wasn't enough. He was about to pull off feats that would leave even his friend in awe. Social engineering, the art of manipulating people, was Kevin's natural talent. By 17, he could convince phone company employees of almost anything, whether over the phone or in person. He memorized company codes and procedures, posing as an insider. For example, he once called the phone company's confidential number directory, introducing himself as Jake Robbers and asking, "Has our new extension been updated in your system?" This prompted the other side to reveal their number. Later, he contacted a mid-level manager at the same company, saying, "We're updating the active personnel list. Is your extension still listed?" The manager responded, "Yeah, my number's 354. Keep it there," unknowingly handing over the information. Using this data, Kevin set up a temporary call forward on the manager's phone. Redirecting calls meant, for verification to himself, playing the role of the manager. He would approve or deny requests. He even recorded the company's hold music and played it during calls, saying, "One moment, please," to add authenticity. Through these tactics, he accessed the private numbers of celebrities and singers who tried to keep their contact details hidden. Kevin's greatest superpower, however, wasn't his technical skill, but his ability to understand human psychology. His serious introduction to computer technology came during this period. At 16 or 17, a friend gave him the phone number of a computer system at the University of Southern California's computing center, known as the ARC. This mainframe was used by Digital Equipment Corporation DEC for remote software development. Gathering his courage, Kevin dialed in using a landline and managed to copy a critical operating system software from DEC's system. To do this, he first called the company, posing as an employee whose account had been lost and had a new account created. He then tricked them into granting high-level access to that account. Remarkably, he accomplished all this in the 1970s as a teenager, using just a landline phone. But jealous friends turned him in. Since he hadn't used or damaged any files, he escaped with a warning, marking his first brush with the law. By the 1980s, Kevin Mitnick was making a name for himself in the hacker underground. He wasn't driven by greed. His goal was to satisfy his curiosity and conquer challenges. Sometimes he copied corporate software, other times he manipulated phone systems for free calls, and occasionally he infiltrated systems just to test their limits before covering his tracks. His greatest weapon was his mastery of deception. far beyond his technical knowledge. On one occasion, Kevin sneaked into Pacific Bell's office to steal technical documents. Accompanied by two friends, he entered the company's archives at night. Earlier that day, he had posed as an employee and told the security guard, "I'm showing my friends around the building tonight," securing permission. That night, they rummaged through shelves and found a list of passwords granting access to various phone network hubs. Though they weren't caught that night, the company soon noticed the breach. The FBI raided Kevin's home, and he was charged with stealing Pacific Bell's technical documents. Tried in juvenile court due to his age, he was sentenced to a few months in a reformatory, becoming one of the youngest people convicted of a computer crime. After his release, Kevin had no intention of slowing down. He infiltrated NORAD, a critical US military network, but only poked around and left without taking anything. He also explored ARPANET, the early internet, and probed the Pentagon's systems. To him, it was all a game, and he had no fear. In 1988, Kevin faced justice again. The previous year, he had hacked into a computer company's network, and a friend betrayed him to the FBI. At 25, he had spent much of his youth playing hacker games. Charged with various computer crimes, he pleaded guilty and received a prison sentence followed by 3 years of supervised release. Released in 1989, he was ordered to stay away from computers and phone systems. But Kevin wasn't one to follow rules. 2 years later, in 1992, he hacked into Pacific Bell's voicemail system, driven by curiosity and a love for challenges. By then, he was infamous, and his methods were well known. He was caught again, but chose to flee rather than surrender. Kevin became the first computer hacker on the FBI's most wanted list. Newspapers dubbed him cyberspace's #1 fugitive. He constantly moved, using fake identities and avoiding digital traces. He lost weight, worked out, and changed his appearance to avoid recognition. The FBI tapped his phones and used every technological tool to track him. In 1993, Kevin sensed an FBI operation in Los Angeles and hacked into Pacific Bell again, accessing his own file and monitoring the agents' phones. According to legend, when the FBI raided one of his hideouts, they found only a box of donuts, labeled for the FBI. While on the run, Kevin stole the source code for Motorola's ultralight phone by posing as an engineer from another office. He infiltrated giants like Novell, Fujitsu, and Sun Microsystems, downloading their source code but never selling or misusing it. He accessed over 20,000 credit card details, but never used, then knowing he could was enough. Kevin frequently used the tactic of providing false information to elicit corrections. For instance, he called a police department, posing as a traffic officer, and asked, "Is your application code 36,472? The officer corrected him, saying, "No, it's 62,883, revealing the correct code. This allowed Kevin to obtain a new identity. Using a fake ID, he rented an apartment on the other side of the country, hoping to evade his pursuers. By day, he maintained a normal routine, but at night, he connected to remote servers. Continuing his exploits, Kevin used clone cell phones to cover his tracks, copying others' phone IDs with special devices to make calls that couldn't be traced to him, but leaving no digital footprint was impossible. In 1994, he targeted Tsutomu Shimomura, a renowned security expert. With help from an Israeli hacker friend, Kevin breached Shimomura's home computer on December 25, 1994, stealing software for remotely controlling cell phones. Elated at outsmarting a supposed security guru, Kevin's victory was short-lived. Shimomura, who had previously detected Kevin's attempts and installed monitoring tools, traced the stolen files. He alerted the FBI, who, with help, tracked Kevin's online activity in real time. On the night of February 13th to 14th, 1995, the FBI pinpointed Kevin's apartment and arrested him. In court, prosecutors portrayed Kevin as a dangerous figure who could whistle into a phone and launch nuclear missiles. He was held in solitary confinement for 8 months before trial. In 1999, he was convicted of 14 counts of electronic fraud and other computer crimes, receiving a total of roughly 6 years in prison. Having been detained since 1995, he had already served most of his sentence. In February 2000, he was released on the condition that he avoid using technology for 3 years. After his release, Kevin tried to lead a quieter life, The years of pursuit, imprisonment, and isolation left deep scars. Once restrictions were lifted, he started a security company with a computer gifted by Steve Wozniak, who included a note, "Hack legally now." Ironically, Kevin began offering penetration testing and security services to corporations. He famously said, "Software vulnerabilities aren't the problem. You can't patch human stupidity," emphasizing that companies' real weaknesses were their employees. He worked with the government, consulted for the FBI, and wrote books. In 2022, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He fought the disease for a year and a half, but passed away in July 2023 at age 59. His wife was pregnant with their first child. Known as the world's greatest hacker, Kevin never got the chance to become a father. From bus ticket punchers to infiltrating the networks of global corporations, his adventure ended with his illness. That's all from me for now. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please remember that I create all the content on this channel single-handedly, and it's your likes and comments that make it possible. Also, our subscriber count is unfortunately low. If you subscribe, you'll help us reach more people and boost our engagement. Thank you, and take care.